Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Scared of a Snake, which says, my 24 female, husband 26 male, abruptly adopted a Burmese python. It terrifies me and I want to rehome it. Maybe this would be more appropriate on r/snakes, but this problem is less about the python itself and more about my relationship with my husband. So personally, I don't think so. 6 months ago, our corn snake unexpectedly died. My husband and I were both very upset. He was a cute little guy and still very young. My husband has owned several small reptiles during his lifetime and told me he was thinking of trying a milk snake this time instead of a corn or a garter. Instead, 2 months after our corn died, he came home with a baby Burmese python. Apparently, it's always been his dream to own a Burmese. Not only am I pissed that he got something like that without consulting me. On the upside, where we live they are legal, but I had several reservations that have only grown since we've owned it. I have GAD, G-A-D, and that triggers my anxiety like no other. Just in case, GAD or GAD stands for Generalized Anxiety Disorder. And OP continues, when I was doing research about Burmese pythons, I kept reading stories about them killing pets, children, and even their owners. So now I'm freaked out and have barely slept for 4 months. This is made worse by the fact that my husband has no experience with large snakes, and the larger the python grows, the more it shows, and also by us having a cat. The other snakes we've had, our corn snake and my husband's older garter snake, pose no threat, but now I constantly worry that the python is going to get out and eat her. I've taken to locking the cat in our bedroom at night, which interferes with our sleep since she meows and scratches at the door, and I constantly worry about her when she's home alone. I'll reiterate, this thing is fucking huge. He is already 6 feet long. I'm home more than my husband, so I have to feed it and change its substrates often. I hate doing both. So much. Especially now that he's graduated to eating rabbits and pigs. I honestly think that since my husband bought him without consulting me, that caring for it should be his sole job. But I'm not going to let it go hungry or live in its own waste out of pride. I honestly don't think we'll be able to give this snake the best quality of life, which I think is essential for all pets. He's getting too big for the tank he's in, which is his third since we've gotten him. And I don't think we have the room in our house for the enclosure my husband wants to build him. His food is very expensive and eating into our savings. But it's what he needs, so we can't downgrade. The python does not deserve to live in a tiny space and eat inadequate food because my husband wanted one as a kid. At the same time, there's a good possibility it could eat us out of house and home. I don't want kids while we own a python, and these things can live up to 20 years. I don't want to never have children, which I've dreamed of because of a python. Because of all these reasons, but especially the ones about our cat and its quality of life, I think we should rehome the python, preferably to a wildlife sanctuary or something. I've gently brought all of this up to my husband, how much mental anguish it causes me, how worried I am for our cat, how the snake is unsustainable. And all he's done is tell me to get over it, accuse me of not caring about his happiness, and tell me I'm being prejudiced against animals that aren't cute and cuddly. None of this is true, not even the last accusation. I like this smaller snakes a lot. How can I communicate productively with my husband about this issue? He already loves this snake, and I think that's getting in the way of him seeing reason. OP also adds an edit and says, for the snake people, I acknowledge now that our husbandry is probably wrong. Proving my point even more. Also, I've been informed that the snake probably wasn't a baby if it's at that size now, so take that into account. I am not the most knowledgeable about snakes. For me, and putting myself in OP's shoes, the fact that he came back and brought it without even discussing it could have been any kind of pet, that is enough in itself for me to be really pissed off at that. Throwing into the mix that it's a potentially dangerous snake at this, wow, it sounds like from what people are saying it is a dangerous snake if you don't know how to handle it properly. And look, I'm no expert on snakes, but I knew someone who owned, I think it was a ball python, I'm not 100% sure, but this snake was huge and incredibly strong. And again, putting myself in your shoes, but I'm replacing the cat with Poppy. I wouldn't want Poppy to be in that situation because I don't know what's going to happen. Like, as I said, I'm no expert on snakes here, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to get Poppy off of a snake. If a python, especially like a 6-foot strong one like that, was able to get hold of, say, Poppy, I'm not sure I'll be able to get the dog off him without doing damage to the snake, which is unfair in itself. All in all, I'm just saying I wouldn't be comfortable with the situation. I don't like the way your husband's dismissing your feelings on the matter. And as much as I'm against ultimatums, I'm struggling to see a way past this if he's not going to see eye to eye with you. No hate against snakes, of course. Some of our members have got some absolutely little beautiful danger noodles. Finmeister says, you're in the right here. A Burmese is a huge, dangerous constrictor. They are one of the thickest and strongest of such snakes. Does your husband know what to do if the snake attacks? Does he have a tranquilizer ready, or worst case, a knife? My school took in an illegal reticulated python as part of an amnesty agreement with a former owner. We were licensed to have it and knew how to take care of it. I was feeding it one day with tongs, which were about 3 feet long, and something happened. Thankfully, there was a hot water tap nearby. The snake only threw 2 coils around my arm, and I didn't have to sacrifice it. I don't believe in killing any animal unless there is no alternative, or in the case of euthanasia. But I do have minor nerve damage in that hand which will never heal. Large constrictors like this are illegal in many areas because they are dangerous, and many people get them not understanding that. Tell him that you will not tolerate the snake, and you don't care about his happiness. Wow, he doesn't care about yours, or the safety of the household. If I were you, I would consult a university or zoo. Explain the situation and have someone come collect the snake. Fuck him. Shelby Knit says you brought this up gently and logically and he accuses you of not caring about his happiness. Wow. Personally, I think the only way to get the man to see reason now is it's me or the snake and one of us will be gone by this date. OP says, well, I'm not going to pretend that I was a saint during all these conversations. I've cried while telling him my concerns after he initially didn't listen to me because of how scared I am and out of frustration. And I've raised my voice with him, but only after he did first. I personally hate ultimatums, but I'm starting to think one might be necessary. Yes. Kimbu replies to that saying, you know, just because something is legal doesn't necessarily mean that it's without risk. I used to own a ball python, which never grew that big. Turns out that having a constrictor snake as a pet voided my tenant/contents insurance. I really love all kinds of animals and I find snakes especially fascinating, but I'm not about to claim that you can tame them and that they aren't without risk. It's a baby now, but what happens when it's 25 years old and 10 feet long? Edit. I just read that it's already 6 feet long. That's insane. Why are you so sure that a fish tank can hold it in? Those things can climb trees and crush large animals. Having one as a casual pet owner is the definition of insanity. Duck Hunter says, well, it was stupid of your husband to get it without consulting you, but people do make stupid decisions. The main problem is now he is dismissing your concerns and making it out like it's your fault for not agreeing with him. That is a bad sign for the health of your marriage. You may have to go with an ultimatum on this one, but then you can bet he'll resent you for it. Try counseling. Yes, I had a friend that was into large reptiles. Your cat won't last a year. Gee whiz. OP says, I'm honestly thinking about giving the cat to my mum or something. I would never forgive him or myself if she had gotten eaten. Little Stray says your husband made a unilateral decision. A, in a marriage. B, affecting a housemate. And C, in regards to a dependent animal with a massive lifespan. All of the above is abhorrent. Then he proceeds to invalidate you and happily allows you to shoulder the burden of his mistake. Drag him to couples counseling. He's killing your marriage through his actions. And what's worse, innocent animals are at stake. Another user says, not exactly sure why a conversation was not had before he did this. Can you just not tell him you were scared of it and would like it to be gone? OP says, we had a discussion, but it was under false pretenses because I thought he told me he was getting another small snake. Instead, he came home with the python. He didn't lie, but apparently it was there and it's been his dream to own one, so he couldn't resist buying one. Now he thinks it's my responsibility to get over my fear because it's an innocent animal, and he's been hinting to me that I need to get on new anxiety meds. Lefleur says, first, let me say that for a baby Burmese python to be 6 foot after 4 months, it sounds